Welcome to the overnight edition from day one. Without further ado, here's Art.
Out of their other homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's attached to specifically the daughter.
How do you know
The
that?
daughter is grown, by the way, not a little girl, but a woman in her early 30s.
Right. And
how do you know it's attached to her?
Do you want to explain those, or I don't know if I should.
I'll be as vague as I can without violating the privacy of the family. The father of the family suffered a violent death. Was found out on the street with a bullet in his head. Police ruled it a suicide. They don't feel it's a suicide. They said he had, no pun intended, he had some personal demons. And shortly after his death, that's when the paranormal problems started happening with the family. They thought it was attached to the house they were in. So they moved, and it kept happening. And now they're in a new location. The kids are, the daughter of the man who was killed, she has her own children now. And they're all mortified in this house. I have 2 hours of interviews of these people just sobbing and begging for help. And, Brendan was in the master bedroom of, where this woman sleeps, and had objects thrown at him. And this is the real giveaway here. Brendan, who you've known for years, Art, came to me and said, I want to get the hell out of here.
I did, and here's the reason. Because and we've talked about this, and we can talk about it later. EVP is not normally heard at the time. I mean, it's not, when you record this, it's not normally heard. You go back and you listen.
It's recorded on frequencies the ear can't.
Yeah, you don't hear it in real time.
Exactly. No. You listen to hours of tape, and then you might get one word, and that's it.
Right.
So when we were in this house, I mean, I can count on 2 fingers how many times I've heard an actual audible voice. And we're sitting in this house. We're conducting interviews. Jimmy had taken one of the daughter outside to do an interview. I had one of, I think it was the mother, in the living room doing an interview with her. And I'm doing the interview, and all of a sudden I just hear non serviam, which, I grew up Catholic, so I know what that means.
That's Latin.
I will not serve.
Okay.
Which that absolutely,
You talk about hearing EVP in different languages. We become really terrified when you start hearing EVP in Latin, which is, a dead language.
Sure.
People don't know it, especially in the United States. And, unless you're a devout Catholic, you don't really know much of it at all. And, when we've got this skeptic in our group that comes running to me and says, hey, we got to get the hell out of here because, and Brendan, the term for people who don't know, I will not serve was said by, what? I will not serve in Latin was said
to our angel.
Well, it was said by Satan.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I was trying to lead you into that, Brendan. Brendan was ready for a smoke. Because he sounded like, I'm done. Where's my Dunkin' Donuts?
Let's play it. This is done in the private home you just heard about. Listen carefully. What you're going to hear is hate you. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here it comes. Ugh. Oh, that is weird. My God, that's weird.
Yeah, it's like really scary.
I do hear the hate you. Very drawn out, with a kind of a thing at the end.
And it's breathy. I mean, it's almost like whistly, kind of like just wheezing.
And if you listen carefully, you can sense, at least I sense, there is absolutely not one redeeming tone in that EVP. I mean, not one good.
I hear nothing redeeming.
It's just pure evil.
Yeah. I'm hearing a little breakup on your phones that may be coming from who knows what.
That's probably me moving around. Sorry.
Really? Please stay close to the base units if you're on a portable. Please.
Absolutely. I apologize.
Okay. That's what happens. Here it is one more time. Listen very carefully. It's hate you with a little thing at the end, and it's very drawn out. So here. Yuck.
That's pretty grim.
Here it is again. If I was in an 18-wheeler in the middle of the night driving across the country and I heard that, I would be a mess, an absolute mess. Gentlemen, hold on. EVP, the GIS are here tonight.
Been drifting on the sea of heartbreak, trying to get myself ashore for so long.
All right, here come my guests again, Brendan Cook and Jimmy Chunga. Welcome back, gentlemen. We've got a lot of territory to cover, and I think we're up to number 6, right?
We are, and this is one of the EVPs that we brought for you tonight, Art. That is, frankly, it's really disturbing. We've played this for people and had them cry. Because it's just so disturbing. It comes from, we actually did not record this. And in fairness, we got to tell you, look, because it didn't come from us, its credibility is questioned by everyone in the GIS, simply because we didn't do it. We did not record this. However, it was sent to us by a family in Texas who was being menaced, wanted our help, and was being menaced, had a little boy in the family that said there was something that was menacing him, hurting him, being mean to him, and attacking him in the middle of the night.
Right.
And the family wouldn't listen to him. And, as adults do, as we've all done, kind of dismissed this kid and said, no. Well, he wouldn't let up. And so the dad finally just said, okay, fine. I'm going to patronize this kid and just, placate him, give him what he wants. So he picks up his video camera and says, okay, give me a tour of your room. Show me around your room. Where does this thing come from?
Sure.
And you'll hear in this EVP, you'll hear this little boy that's being attacked by this evil entity saying, this is my baseball glove. This is, you'll hear him directing him around the room, and then you'll see this is the TV. That's where he comes out of. And then the little boy sees movement on the TV that's off. You'll hear him, reference the movement on the TV, and then you'll hear the demon say, "I am your worst enemy. I watch you while you sleep."
Oh God! All right, here we go.
Okay.
Hey, look, my baseball glove. No, my old one.
My worst enemy. I watch you sleep.
I just saw something move on the screen, Sean. Well, it's not there anymore.
My worst enemy. I watch you sleep.
I just saw something move on the screen.
My worst enemy. I watch you sleep.
I just saw something move on the screen.
Ay.
And of course, the family can't hear it. And the thing that really sticks with me is that horrible growl at the end of it.
What do you mean the family can't hear it? What do you mean?
They don't hear the demon speaking, as the little boy doesn't hear it, the dad doesn't hear it.
Yeah, when this happened, I mean, it goes back to what we were saying about EVP. They're not hearing any of this. And then can you imagine what a shock that is to go back and hear it?
And the little boy says, I saw something move on the screen, but it's not there anymore, as the EVP is coming in.
I don't like anything that says I watch you sleep.
Yeah.
EVP. All right, one more time. Listen, everybody, very carefully. I'm your worst enemy. I watch you sleep. See if you can hear it.
Hey, look, my baseball glove. No, my old one.
Your worst enemy. I thought you said
I just saw something move on the screen, Sean. But it's not there anymore.
Listen for the growl.
your worst enemy. I thought you said
I just saw something move on the screen.
your worst enemy. I thought you said
I just saw something move on the screen.
Oh, you know what's interesting about that is if that had been faked, the little boy would not have been speaking over the EVP.
Very true.
Right.
Very true.
Because he had no idea he was speaking over the EVP.
Correct. And it's also the voice that you're hearing. It's been our experience. We've found that when you're dealing with things that have never been human, that have never inhabited a human body, that voice is very consistent with, that type, that kind of timbre and tone is very consistent with other entities that we recorded of, similar nature.
Well, that
which lended more credibility.
Evil. Yeah, evil. All right, on to a cemetery.
Yeah, and back to a kid's voice.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know, right? And this is one of the, aside from a couple of the voices we'll play tonight, this is one of the worst, just because it implies to me that a kid is still around and it's still interacting with people, thinking it's still there, thinking he can still do all that, and that to me is horrible. But we're in the cemetery. This is one of the old analog recording. I mean, this was 99, 2000,
okay.
Maybe somewhere around there.
Right.
And you're going to hear my wife say, "Did you just pull down the blanket?" And Barbara says, "No." And then you're going to hear this little child say, "I did."
Oh,
and then,
my.
My wife says, "Did you just feel like a tug?" And Barbara says, "No."
All right.
And
no children anywhere around, right?
No,
cemetery in the middle of the night.
Well, it's not even the cemetery in the middle of the night. This is a cemetery in the middle of the night in the middle of December. So, again, that's why she's saying, "Did you pull down the blanket?" Because we used to go out into cemeteries and have blankets wrapped around us. It was, that's what you had to do.
I'd want that too. All right, here it comes.
Did you just pull down the blanket?
no.
Did you feel like a tug?
No.
I did is very, very clear. Very clear.
Right.
A child pulled down the blanket. Once more.
Did you just pull down the blanket?
No.
Did you feel like a tug?
No.
Too many children.
Yeah.
Oh, it gets worse.
I'm sure it does. All right, this next one should be, I think, pretty interesting. There's nothing said before. This is, what it says is, I haven't heard these, it says baby laughing.
Yeah, this was, again, it's also in a cemetery. You'll hear wind blowing. This was this is one of those situations that we were referencing earlier where occasionally we'll put a digital recorder down somewhere and then leave the scene. And what we did was we set a digital recorder down on the grave of a baby. It was a baby grave. There's a little, marble lamb kind of carved on top of the grave.
Yes.
You get the idea. Yeah. So we set the digital recorder down and walked away. You'll hear wind blowing. Now, there was some arguing within the GIS, Barbara, Brendan, myself, because some of us say that the baby is laughing. Others of us say the baby is crying. It's really subjective, and, I'm interested to see what you think about this.
Well, there's a lot of mothers out there. They should know. Here it comes. Holy moly.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm split too. I don't know. Is that a laugh or is that a cry or is that just, that could be like a 3-month-old baby.
Yeah, it's young. I mean, you can tell just from the tonnage. I mean, it's a young child.
And you sure can hear the wind. Here it comes once more. Listen very carefully, folks. You tell me, all you moms out there, you tell me, what is this? I'm reminding you, I warned you at the beginning of this program, I warned you. These things were going to be disturbing, and they are. I really have the hardest time, guys, believing that the God that we all, I don't know, think of, everybody thinks of some kind of, well, except for one guy I know. Everybody else thinks of a God who wouldn't allow a child, I don't know. I don't know.
There's a lot of theories.
It is what it is, I guess. I don't know what to say.
There's the theory of residual haunting, which is there's not an actual spirit there. It's just, energy, almost playing like on a tape loop over and over and over through time. And then there's not a sentient being there.
Have you confirmed that? In other words, if you go to the same location, are you liable to get the same EVP again and again and again?
We thought we had. At one point, we thought we had been able, and it was at this same cemetery, that we thought we had a residual haunting, and it wasn't with this voice. I mean, it had nothing to do with this voice.
Okay.
Where we would record the same woman's voice over and over and over again. And we thought, again, the radio transmission, are we picking up some radio station? This is some local host that we don't know about. And then we realized that wasn't the case.
No, I don't hear that in any of these.
Yeah,
if there was some kind of broadcast something, I would know.
We've done that once when we used the old recorders, like the old recorders. And this is again 15 years ago. We recorded radio stuff. I think twice, and we knew that
it's very clearly radio when you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's clear.
And then
I'd know right away.
Yeah.
I'd know right away. That's not what this is.
They have that voice. They have that tonnage. They have that what it is. And then when we recorded this lady's voice saying, finally, I think it was the 8th or 9th time we had done this investigation, she just said, "I'm completely dead." And it was like...
intelligent.
Yeah, and it was a self-realization to her, I'm dead. You guys are looking for me. And then we never recorded her voice again.
And that wouldn't be residual. And I'm kind of like you are. I really struggle with this. I don't know that I believe in the residual thing. I struggle.
I wonder if you said you never recorded her voice again after that. I wonder if once she realized she was dead, she moved on.
Exactly. I mean, and that's cliched. I mean, it's completely cliched to say that, but that's the truth. I mean, once she realized, you know what, I'm not supposed to be here. These people are looking for me. I thought I was part of them, and now I'm gone.
Got it. All right, we have a lot of territory to cover, so number 9.
Okay, so this is another one that was sent to us. If you're ever aware of a book, I can't remember the guy's name who wrote it. It was called Phone Calls from the Dead. And it was documenting phenomena where relatives would call their family after they passed on.
Right.
And they would literally talk to them. And this goes back to, we talked earlier about Thomas Edison and all that, inventing machines to do this. That's kind of the theory behind it. So this was sent to us from Britain. And
really?
It's a message that was left on an answering machine. The family said they had no phone call that came in. Caller ID did not show anybody calling. But all of a sudden this message was there, and you're going to hear the message machine pick up. So it says message something or other, blah, 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 and then the beep. And then you're just going to hear this gruff man, it doesn't even sound human, almost, say say, "They're coming home." And
was this a voice that people recognized?
yeah, the neighbor, they actually recognized that this was their neighbor's voice. I mean, this was somebody they knew that had passed on. I mean, even though to us it doesn't sound human, to them, they recognized it.
All right, we're listening for "They're Coming Home." Here it comes.
It's 4 Wednesday, 8:12 a.m.
God. That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It sounds evil, but I guess it wasn't.
Yes, they actually said in their email that this was comforting. And to hear that voice and the sound, I don't know how you could think that, but because
that wouldn't comfort me.
It, yeah.
No way.
Me neither.
No how. No. One more time. Here you go.
4 Wednesday, 8:12 a.m.
Hey. Not at all comforting. Not at all. All right.
It's a little bit different than Buzz and Woody jumping back in the toy box, you know?
A little bit.
A little scary.
Glad it's late at night. All right, number 10.
There's a location that's in Salt Lake City. You know, settled by Mormon pioneers, and we have this big. I don't want to call it it's a park. It's a state park where historical buildings and, artifacts of the era are kind of on display. It's called This Is the Place State Park. The reason it's called This Is the Place is because when the leader of the Mormons at the time, a guy by the name of Brigham Young at the university, BYU, he was the prophet of the Mormon church. He came down through the mountains with hand carts and wagons and looked over the Salt Lake Valley and said, "This is the place." So that's why they call this area, this park, This Is the Place State Park. You're going to hear Brendan in one of the buildings, which, by the way, the place is just incredibly active and very, very haunted, both by good and bad. There's a lot of really very dark and kind of yicky stuff that we've encountered there, which is strange because it's actually a religious park. But Brendan is having some trouble in this EVP. You'll hear Brendan struggling with his radio, which is a common occurrence there. There's a lot of energy drains there, a lot of drains on batteries and equipment. And you'll hear Brendan say, "Hey, does this radio work? You'll hear him kind of messing with it. Does this radio work?"
To be fair, I mean, if this was me, because it's such a huge place, we had to have radios. So I was trying to radio people constantly. And there's actually an EVP that precedes this that we didn't bring tonight that, I mean, you hear, it's like a 2-minute long clip of me just having trouble with this.
Right.
And then this one is kind of right after, and it's like, it's the rubbing salt in the wound kind of thing where it's just completely mocking me.
Yeah, you hear a voice say, "I don't like you." It's messing with Brendan's radio intentionally because the spirit that was inhabiting this area did not like the fact that Brendan was there.
Here it comes, number 10.
Hello. Okay. Does nobody's radio work? Oh my.
Uh-oh. Oh, very clear. I heard a squelch break. So obviously, you were messing with the radio or somebody, but that's not where this voice came from. Very clearly, it is not where this voice came from.
Yeah,
One more time,
I
folks.
did not. When I said I was in that house, I did not hear that at the time. I heard the radio messing up, and at one point, I heard it's almost like the spirit box thing again, that where we talked about it, and we heard different.
Yeah, but you don't find these until hours and hours and hours, and not days later.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, all that happened, and then all of a sudden, it's just, "I don't like you," and then.
The only way that EVP could have been better is if it said, "Me don't like you," because it sounds just like Cookie Monster when you listen to it.
Cookie Monster. Okay, here it is.
Hello. Okay. Does nobody's radio work? Oh my.
You know, it's actually a good thing that you didn't hear that at the time, or probably if you were like me, you'd have been the heck out of there.
Well, it's not even, I don't think I would have been because I've dealt with this for so long. I don't know if you can hear in my tonage, like, how upset I was getting.
I heard it. I heard you. Yes, I heard that. But the I don't like you part, not good. Not good at all.
Not at all.
Well, all right. So we leave a private residence, and now let's enter a mortician's house. Great place.
Which, you know, is technically a private residence, but it's different where the guy is preparing bodies all day.
Not my kind of private residence.
Yeah, exactly. This clip is probably the one clip that has absolutely changed my entire view of everything we do.
Really?
It really is, because it is, I mean, again, I rationalize everything. I try to rationalize everything. And I could rationalize this even just to make myself feel better that everything we've recorded is radio transmission, or it's...
Oh, nonsense.
I know, it isn't, but it makes me feel better to say that it is, especially with some of the stuff that's been said and what we've heard. But this one, I mean, there was a visual thing, and this is one of the only visual things I've ever had happen.
What was it?
Is this the one with the little boy? The little boy. This is the first apparition Brendan has ever actually seen. This was the first time he ever saw a full-blown apparition.
Describe it, please.
Well, we're in this house, and, you know, morticians, believe it or not, actually make a lot of money. So they can afford really nice houses. So this guy's house is like a 4-level, you know, magnificent house. And when we went in there was only 4 of us. And we each took one of the levels. So we had somebody in the basement, somebody second floor, somebody third, somebody fourth. I was on the floor with the huge living room and the fireplace. And right over the fireplace in this living room was this gigantic wall mirror. I mean, it covered the entire wall. And I remember walking in there, and this is another analog one, I mean, because this was 2003, I think. I remember walking into this room and just seeing this mirror and being kind of in awe of it. And you're going to hear me say, is anyone here? You know, again, the standard question. And then all of a sudden you're going to hear a boy say, I'm a good boy, which later we found out most people think he says, I'm Gabe. And then at that point, I see him, like, running behind me. There's no kids in this house. There's none. We tell everybody on every investigation, you can't have anybody under 18 to be with us.
Right.
So...
Okay. All right. And so you actually saw him.
But the problem is that he was running away from Brendan, but his head was turned around.
It was. It looked like his neck was broke.
So it wasn't just a little boy. It was a damaged little boy who was staring at him as he was running away. Does that make sense?
Yes, unfortunately.
And we asked the mortician, had he worked on any kids that had a broken neck? And? Like a year ago he had, which, you know, we didn't correlate because, you know, it's a year ago. But
here it comes.
Is anyone here? No way. No way. No way.
No way.
Well, and
so
you know,
who said no way? Who said no way? Brendan. Okay, that's Brendan's voice. So you hear, I'm a good boy, Brendan saying no way. I assume that was when you saw him?
That was responding to what I had just seen in the mirror, and then the kid laughing right after I did that. That's
all right, one more time. Now listen very carefully. No way is Brendan. in response to seeing this apparition. Here you go.
Is anyone here? No way. No way. No way.
Wow. Wow. That's a wow.
Well, that was, like I said, this is the one clip out of well, there's one other clip, but it has just changed my entire view of what we do and how we do it and what I think.
Have you ever come to the point where you said, that's it, no more, I'm not doing this anymore?
Not yet, but I've been close.
It was, when we were at that private home, when we got, audible EVP of something speaking Latin and throwing things at us, that was the only time since 1999 where Brendan has actually come to me and said, look, we got to get out of here. I can't do this.
I did. I mean, I forced everybody to leave. I didn't want to go. I thought we Brendan and I had a little discussion. I thought we could handle it. And, he was absolutely insistent that we not stay. So
Barbara had a much more optimistic view of all of this. She tried to sort of temper everything, even when some of the worst things were said.
She did.
She tried to be optimistic. So,
and she still does. I mean, again, it's not like she's not here or she's not doing this. I mean, she's still a part of all of this. It's just she can't do it as much right now. But,
all right, number 12, folks. We're going to move on. Bram House, whatever that is.
The Bram House is, again, this is one of those rare times. Keep in mind that we're showcasing a lot of EVPs here tonight, and a lot of them come from very evil and dark places, and it's actually very, very rare that we ever investigate anything like this, or that we ever accept an invitation to investigate anything like this. But this was a house where the inhabitants, the women inside, were practicing witchcraft. They were witches.
Ooh.
And and there was a lot of kind of dark ceremony going on in there, and they were dabbling in kind of black magic sounds so corny, but they were dabbling in some pretty dark stuff. And it wasn't long after they started doing this sort of thing where they started having some real problems in the home, waking up with cuts on their bodies, waking up with scratches, deep scratches, not just, scuffs and things like that, but scratches or cuts that were drawing blood.
Well, and at one point their altar, because I don't know enough about witchcraft, I think, but I guess they have an altar that they have to have in a certain position. They woke up one day and it was destroyed and thrown all over their living room.
I am familiar with people who work in the craft.
Okay.
All right. So the actual EVP here is anyone here now? Who says that?
Well, you're going to hear me say, "Is anyone here? Does anyone want to talk to me?" And then there's going to be this kid, and this goes back to what Jimmy was saying about kids not being, kids.
Right.
And this kid says there was blood.
Oh, great. All right, here it comes. Stand by, everybody.
Is anyone here? Do you want to talk to me?
Ooh, that's awfully clear. Very, very clear. There was blood.
And again, it's clear it's a kid. I mean, it's.
I know.
It's a child.
Is there anything in the? Well, I guess there is history. If there were people practicing the craft, there could have been, I suppose, sacrifices that went on.
Exactly, and that's what I thought. Because you're in. These people, when they contacted us, and again, what Jimmy was saying, we don't normally do cases like that because normally what you're dealing with when you are into different things like that where you're inviting stuff, it's demonic, and that's not what we do. We don't actually seek that out.
I understand. It's coming up once more here, folks. Understand that what you're hearing is the result of hundreds of hours of work, listening to basically nothing until you get to one of these EVPs here.
Is anyone here? Do they want to talk to me?
Am I right? Hundreds of hours?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Actually, you're probably wrong. It's thousands. I mean, at this point, like the way we've done this,
that must get very tiring.
It is so tedious.
You know, as the years have gone on, Art, we've found ways to kind of streamline what we do. We're very careful to do what's called tagging. And that's, you know, when you're walking through a house, you know, any sort of noise that you make is identified by you on the recorder. So you hear footsteps, you say, that's me making footsteps. Or I hear Brendan talking in another room. I'm careful to say there's Brendan talking in another room, because then you go back hours after the fact, and rather than spending 20 minutes listening to something and then finally determining, oh, that's Brendan talking in another room, you're able to just move on. So over the years, we've really been able to kind of trim that down, but it is still very, very tedious.
Would the two of you, you know, earlier in the program, I suggested people try this for themselves. Is there any danger in doing this?
Yes.
There is. I mean, danger as far as are you going to be killed? No. But danger in the fact that could something follow you home, that's certainly a possibility.
Has something ever followed you home?
Yes.
Yeah, I had something very dark, very malevolent, hurting my son.
We both have.
Yeah, Brendan has too.
Yeah.
Not good.
No.
See, that's going to discourage people, and maybe it should.
It should. It should.
Well, what? Because, I mean, it makes you think, is this something I want to do? I mean, this is show and tell. We're not proving anything to anybody. We just want to present what we have. If you question it, we say go out and do it. But realize if you go out and do it, I mean,
you're inviting. It's like an invitation.
Exactly. It's what is the consequence of doing this?
Well, and in order to really be effective at this, you really do kind of need to, well, there's no kind of about it, you really do need to open yourself up to allow contact to be made.
Isn't that the same thing you do with a Ouija board?
Yeah, exactly.
It is. You know, I had a woman ask me just a couple of days ago, what's the difference between using a Ouija board and using a digital recorder? Or what's the difference between using a spirit box and using a Ouija board? You know, my only answer is that a lot of people will say none. I say that the difference is that, you know, operating a Ouija board, the theory behind it is that, you know, an entity has to inhabit your body in order to move, you know, the piece around the board. These other items, the entity will, as I was talking about at the beginning of the show, if you weren't here listening to us, we have video of light anomalies and orbs actually flying into the device or the flashlight or, you know, something in order to manipulate it in some way.
Which you promised to bring in the next time we do a program, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course,
yes.
Of course.
You know, we'll have that on the website. All right, number 13, please.
Okay, so this is at the same house, and it's just me asking, you know, after we did the interview with these ladies, and they told us how bad this had become.
Right.
I'm asking the spirits or even whatever is in that house, I'm saying, did you scratch that lady? Why would you do that? And then this just a horrible old man's voice says, to cause her pain.
All right, here it comes.
Did you scratch that lady? Why would that? What'd you do?
Interesting, to cause her pain. Not perfectly clear, but clear enough.
Yeah, it is. It's muffled, but I mean, it's pretty syllabically. It's pretty clear.
And you think that's an old man? It does kind of sound like an old man. One more time.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Did you scratch that lady? Why would that? What'd you do?
Well, that's bad intentions all the way.
Yeah.
All right. These are pretty rough tonight. I did ask for scary stuff, so I guess I got what I asked for. All right, we're going to move on now to a happier place, I guess, an antique shop. Yes?
Oh, yeah. You think happy. This is actually one of our more sad, I don't know if I would call it scary, but definitely one of our more sad EVPs. Again, it's another child's voice. It takes us to we were investigating an old bookstore / antique shop, and we were talking earlier about how artifacts and items can be haunted as well as people and houses. Anytime you get into an antique shop, where you've got a lot of memories and a lot of that type of energy around, it seems to me that hauntings seem to be a little bit more prevalent. Well, we were in this place, and you hear Brendan say, it's a very familiar question. Can you tell us what it's like where you're at? And then you hear a very sad little child say, I didn't eat today.
Really?
Which,
yeah.
I mean, and think the consequence of that. I mean, that they're on the other side,
hungry, thinking they're hungry.
That, yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. Here we go.
Can you tell us what it's like where you're at?
Very large signal is certainly correct. Hi, everybody, across the Americas. Great to be here. You're hearing voices from the other side. This is the GIS, the Ghost Investigators Society. They've been with me for years, haven't been around for some time. We're just laying it out for you. These are recorded on digital recorders for the most part, with microphones and nobody around, so that there's no mistaking what's being recorded. All right, gentlemen, welcome back. I blew right through a break. I got so interested. Here we are, and we're going Victorian, I guess, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, when I say Victoria, it's an old, Victorian mansion or like late 1800s style architecture. And we have done this location, I would say, 20 times at least. This is one of the weirdest voices we've got, and it's simply because, again, the context of what I'm saying and what the voice says. But you're going to hear me say, are you by yourself? How big are you? And then a voice says, she knows you're alone, which I was at the time.
Any idea or thoughts or guesses about who she might be?
I almost don't want to, yes.
All right, here we go.
Are you by yourself? How big are you?
Yeah, that's right. She knows you're alone. When I was young, we lived in a place called Blue Ridge Summit, Pennsylvania, or Maryland, depending on how you want to look at it. The state line and the Mason-Dixon ran right through the middle of our house. And it was a big old house with 35 rooms, 7 bathrooms, and secret passageways that were used for the slaves that were escaping. It was part of the whole train that allowed slaves to make their way north. And we had secret passages all over that house. It would have been such a wonderful place for you all to go and do some recording.
I'm salivating.
Yeah, it's like now we're kind of jealous, so.
Yeah. She knows you're alone. Okay, I'm going to do it once more so everybody gets it straight. Here it is.
Are you by yourself? How big are you?
All right, that had a very interesting affect to it, a kind of a whooshy, it's hard to describe, a kind of in and out, phased sound to it, I guess that's the way I put it.
We have noticed that that weird phasing that you're talking about, it usually accompanies virtually every EVP we get. It is, and I struggle with it. I can't tell if it's the spirit drawing energy out of the actual device itself, or if it's the energy surrounding the device that the spirit is using to speak. I don't know, but you get that weird warble and phasing effect in almost every EVP we've encountered.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, very strange.
Something about perhaps coming from wherever it's coming from.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we don't really know, do we? It's just coming from over there somewhere.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, how will we ever know? I mean, again, we talked about doing this to try and get answers for things, but now we have more questions, and it's almost like we've learned less. So, maybe I should start asking what that is, and hopefully I get a response one day.
Well, how about we put it this way in the form of a question? Everybody fears their own mortality,
Sure.
to some degree or another. What is all this, when you combine it together, make you think about your own mortality and what you're going to... In other words, does everybody spend time on Earth before proceeding elsewhere? Or is what we're hearing what you get when you die?
The quick answer, Art, is I don't know. And I don't know that anybody could really accurately tell you that.
It's an honest answer. You're right. How could you possibly know it?
We have theories. People have theories. I try not to have theories. The arrogance of humans.
Right.
We can use
I'm
a fork, therefore we know everything. Well, we just don't.
All right. Number 16.
This takes us back to, this is the place, State Park. Now, again, you must remember this is it's a Mormon run and funded state park. We used to go there quite frequently. We don't go there anymore because Brendan went on national TV and said there was something demonic in there. So we haven't been back. Imagine that. But we did get an awful lot of activity while we were there. This is Brendan saying, I'm going to walk down and try and find Brian, who is a GIS member. Says, I'm going to walk down and try and find Brian. Let me look here. Timestamp is 8:23. So at 8:23, I am now leaving. So it's kind of a long, long sentence from Brendan.
This is me tagging. I mean, we talked earlier about tagging audio and
absolutely.
Yeah, so this is me tagging this.
And again, because, there is something very, very dark. Both Brendan and I have had some pretty malicious and malevolent run-ins at this place, and you'll clearly hear a very dark and deep voice say, "Get out." It's that classic haunted voice,
All right, here it comes.
I'm going to walk down and try and find Brian, so... Let me look here. Timestamp is 8:23. So at 8:23, I am now leaving.
I wouldn't need any more encouragement than that. Of course, fortunately for you, you didn't hear it at the time, and it sounded like, frankly, you had already gone.
Well, yeah.
I heard a door shut. I heard a door close, right?
Yeah, because I was leaving, but I've done this so much. Even if I had heard it, I would have stayed at that point. This was, if you remember the radio voice that we played earlier, where I was getting so upset at the radio.
Yes.
I mean, I would have stayed just simply out of spite.
But see, that's Brendan. Where Brendan says, that's interesting. That's the same time when Chunga fills his pants. And that's the beauty of having different members in a group like this.
I understand.
I'm going to walk down and try and find Brian. So let me look here. Timestamp is 8:23. So at 8:23, I am now leaving.
Get out. Get out. That's horribly clear.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about it. It's horribly clear and horribly direct.
I would say it's probably the fifth or sixth voice that we have been told to get out.
It happens. But imagine how many times, Art, you've left a building and that has happened behind you and have no idea.
Yeah.
Of course.
Or anyone else, as you're driving across the country or whatever. How many times?
I can only imagine the expression on Brennan's face when he found that later, much later.
Oh, yeah. On everybody's face.
All right, we're going back to the exchange.
Yes. Yeah, and this is where it starts getting not good.
Not good. You mean everything up to now was a love fest?
Well, it's been okay.
Yes, from an EVP point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in this, there is not going to be we're not going to repeat this voice over and over again like we do, twice in a row.
Right.
There's no context. This is one of those instances where we left a recorder in a room by itself.
Yes.
And pretty much left the building at this point. And, you go back on audio a day later and look at the spectrograph, to see.
Sure.
That's kind of how we do it, is we look at the audio. We don't even listen to it as much.
I understand, right.
Right. So we go back and do this, and there's just this thing that it's this kid saying he touched my face over and over again. And it kind of also goes back to the baby voice that we played, where we couldn't decide if the baby was crying or laughing.
Either way, it's very disturbing.
Yeah, this one, everybody kind of thinks it either says he touched my face or he cut my face.
All right, here it is. Coming up. Wow. You know what I wanted to hear, and I'm going to play it again so that I can decide. I'm trying to decide if the inflection is the same each time. What do you think?
I think it ranges, actually. It's almost like he's progressing.
He's pleading. It's not the same thing being run over and over again. He's pleading for somebody to understand him.
Got you. All right, here it comes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was very clearly a change, a big change in inflection, and you're right, it was increasingly pleading.
Right. I mean, he just says it over and over and over it, and that's why we said, this isn't looped. We didn't.
And I want everybody to take a moment and lock that voice into their memory, that little kid's voice, because that leads us into the next EVP. Now, the two EVPs were not recorded together, and I don't know if you're prepared to run that, Art, but I just want everybody to remember that little voice there.
All right. Remember that little voice there. I need to take a break. More ways than one. I had a cigarette. I was still smoking. I'd light up about now. This is Dark Matter, exclusively on Sirius XM Radio. Well, how you doing? Hanging in there? Here's the deal. We've got about 4 more EVPs to do. However, wicked indeed. We're going to open the phone lines now. My God. Sirius XM is wonderful, isn't it? A nice, clear signal, so you can hear this, all of this, all the better. Little levity, sorry, required. So I'm opening the phone lines right now. If you have a question or a comment, the number is 855-REAL-UFO, 855-732-5836. Let's continue with number 18 coming up next. And you said, remember that voice. It's burned in, no problem. What's number 18?
Well, number 18 is, without a doubt, one of the top two most disturbing and heart-wrenching EVPs I've ever heard. It's also, to my knowledge, one of the longest EVPs ever recorded. Typically, when an EVP is recorded, it's one word or, just a few short words or maybe a really short phrase. This EVP is nearly a minute and a half long.
Wow.
In its entirety, which is an eternity when you're talking about EVPs. It was recorded in that stock exchange building that we were, I was telling you earlier that this thing got its, its birth as a stock exchange building, and talking about livestock, cattle and horses and the like.
Right.
In its lifetime, it was a variety of things. It was an insane asylum, and it was a small hospital, and it was also a rehab facility. At one point, there had been numerous deaths. There was a mass murder there at one point. There was a bunch of suicides. There's been a lot of agony and trauma and pain in this building.
Right.
We recorded this EVP. And again, this is just incredibly sad to listen to. I want to warn everybody ahead of time. Very, very sad to listen to. It is, what you're going to hear was recorded in a room that was once a surgical suite inside this building. Keep in mind, there's no running water. There's not been any running water in this building since the early 1970s. We set up a laptop with a condenser mic in the surgical suite, which is on the main floor of this building. And we left. Brendan, Barbara, other members of the GIS, and I left the building. And we had, Brendan, how long was it? About 25 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Of silence.
Yeah, easy.
You can hear, random cars passing in the back. And then this happened. And it is absolutely stunning.
What is it we're going to hear?
It's the, there is no tactful way to say this. It is the drowning of a little boy.
Oh, God. All right.
And the voice sounds eerily similar to the EVP that you just heard. It's If you listen carefully, you can hear two adults. What sounds like a male and a female to me. And you'll hear a little boy repeating over and over and over again, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." You'll hear splashing around, banging on the side of the tub. And then you'll hear a woman say, "He can't breathe." And then a man in a very dark, foreboding, very evil voice, say, "He can't breathe." And then you'll hear a very deep thud, and everything goes silent.
Here it is.
It stays silent.
Here it is. I'm not going to play that one again.
And with that, we will leave that to a close. Come back tomorrow night for the conclusion of Art Bell. Until then, like, share, and subscribe. Be kind to one another. Release the Krakens as we march this overnight and every overnight here from day one. Have a great night, and thanks for watching.